in a weekend for the Portland Trailblazers, a hometown team dropping 2 games, 127-112 to the Denver Nuggets, which is anticipated and respectable loss to one of the better teams in the NBA, the defending world champions.
Sure, Jokic was a man possessed.
He's doing incredible things yet again. And then last night, though, different story, as the Blazers lose 93-80 to the Charlotte Hornets after scoring 34 points in the first quarter.
To be clear, the
34.
highest scoring quarter for either team in the game was 25. The Blazers in the third quarter.
I think you meant 34 points in the first half.
First half.
Yeah,
Did I say first quarter?
You said first quarter.
I meant half. Yeah. First
the
half.
The Blazers did not eclipse 20 in either of the first 2 quarters. 18 and 16.
Last night was unequivocally one of the worst shooting performances that I've seen from this franchise. And it turns out the numbers are bearing it out, because in NBA history, it was the 5th lowest shooting percentage from 3 by a team that attempted 30 or more three-point attempts.
Mm-hmm.
They were 3 of 32. And
that was only because they were saved in the final couple minutes. They were, at one point in time, 1 for 26.
9.4% three-point shooting is the 5th worst ever. Mm-hmm. It is the worst three-point shooting performance with 30 or more attempts since the 2021 Houston Rockets.
Mm-hmm.
It was ugly.
They, at one point in time, missed 23 consecutive threes. And this is not the Hornets are really getting after it. It was Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant, and everyone else getting wide open look after wide open look and just clanking their brains out.
The starting lineup combined to go 1 of 21 from beyond the arc, including an 0 for 8 from Anthony Simons, which it was tough watching he and Jeremy Grant, especially even Jeremy Grant, that one make. Watching those two guys and seeing how with every attempt that either rattled out or missed horribly, just seeing it kind of wear on them, because that is something we don't see very often.
No.
But it was apparent last night, and that was a tough one. There haven't been many truly, like, you just go, God, that was tough to watch. Last night was one.
We were sitting there, the collective media, we're sitting there post-game before Chauncey got up, and I asked around kind of the room, was this worse than the 62-point game to the Oklahoma City Thunder? And there was real pause, because that was just getting your butt kicked.
That was that offensive output that you saw last night against a very good team. I mean, I think if Charlotte is better, and then it ends up that way.
The insane thing was, and I think what made it look worse, was the stark contrast between how putrid they were offensively and how genuinely good they were defensively. Matisse Thybulle was a complete wrecking crew. He had 4 steals and 2 blocks in his first 12 minutes on the floor.
That's pretty good.
And it was just like, okay, defensively they're competing, they're getting after this. But then you watched it offensively, and you're just they're going, and it wasn't clunky. They were generating looks. They were just, and it wasn't just threes. Like, Jabari Walker was bricking layups.
Yeah, it was just a weird, clunky game, start to finish, and you sit there and you go, all right, how does that happen game 2 out of the break?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where does that come from? Where does that start? And how do you get to that point? Because, look, and here's the thing, they were open looks. We look at the Oklahoma City game, and you go, that was in the back end of an extended road trip. They're on the road. Their legs are tired. There is not an excuse to, like, where your legs should be dead on game 2 out of the All-Star break, where you had a night off and you're playing both the games at home, for goodness sakes.
You'd think, but you get to these, I don't know, you get to these points where it's absolutely, it's not even unquestionable. It's the basketball gods just say no. And I've seen some people like, well, why didn't Chauncey Billups make some changes last night? And I'm just like, huh? Did you look at the box score? Did you see how many guys played? Did you see how many guys took shots? It was just a contagious thing throughout the team. And it doesn't happen frequently. But you go look through the box scores of every team, the best teams in the league and the worst, they all have one of these nights.
But when your roster isn't very good,
it gets exacerbated.
It's exacerbated. And like anybody that's saying you want changes, I mean, what, you want more Mania minutes?
Yeah, like what
you want more
Banton?
What do you want? Because it wasn't going to get better. It wasn't going to get better. It was just ugly.
You take out Ayton's 11 for 16 from the field, and the Blazers shoot under 28% for the game.
That's brutal.
That's brutal.
And this is where you sit there and you go, even with all of that being said, this is where, like, Chauncey Billups, and we have this text on the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. With all that bad shooting, Danny, this is the question for you. Chauncey Billups' post-game interview tells me his job is safe in Portland. And it is because it wasn't that they were shooting contested shots. Guys weren't open. Nothing was falling in. And they found their way to get that lead to single digits at one point where you're going, they have no business being in this game.
They had no business
Charlotte's
being in
not
the game.
good.
They got it down to 3 points with about 5 minutes to go.
And
I'm sitting there going, how the hell is this game a 3-point game?
And I think that one thing that a lot of fans are concerned about is this is where in a game like that, you have to lean on Anthony Simons. You have to lean on Jeremy Grant. And when those guys come up empty, that makes it that much worse. And that's where fans start wondering, all right, in a game like this, are those guys that are the ones that you want to be building this thing around?
Sure.
And you take a one-off, that's one thing. If this comes more consistent, and
then you start to wonder and you worry. Looking at the NBA tracking data last night on open threes without a defender within 4 to 6 feet, and this is always taken
without 4 to 6 feet, that is wide open.
No, there's more open than this. There's open and there's very open. They were one.
It's called warm-ups.
Yeah. They had some of those looks too. But the Blazers were 1 of 12.
Oh my gosh.
1 of 12 last night. And then on the wide open, they were, holy crap, they were 2 for 19.
And that's where you just shake your head and you go,
wide open.
What are you gonna do?
That's shooting variance. That's all that is. That's shooting luck and shooting variance. When you're generating that many open looks and you're just clanking, talking to the guys afterward, there was a lot of there wasn't a lot of heads down. It was like hands thrown up, we're not a great shooting team, but no. No.
Well, look, on the bright side, at least, we might be getting more ping pong balls in our future because now they're tied with the Hornets in the, the win column.
They are tied with the Hornets in the win column, which means that they may have an outside chance now at moving down, up. I don't know how we qualifying that.
Yeah,
up
to
number 4.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, all right.
So there's that.
Got a long way to go to catch the likes of Detroit, Washington, and even San Antonio.
Detroit and Washington are now tied at 9 wins apiece.
Detroit's still 8 and 48.
Still at 8, yeah.
8 and 48. Washington is 9 and 48.
Yep, you got it right here.
That's bad.
I could have swore I saw the standings both at 9.
Spurs are 11 and 47.
And then the Blazers and Hornets are both at 15.
Yes.
But then you take in, we all want to live in that moment of how bad last night was because it historically was one of the worst shooting performances in NBA history. We just laid it out. 5th worst three-point shooting performance of a team that attempted 30 or more three-pointers ever. But what did you take from Friday coming out of the All-Star break where you have a Denver team that is in all earnest making that push? They're only a game and a half back of being the top seed in the Western Conference. And
Jokic just flipping that switch.
On Friday night, Nikola Jokic, there's nobody in the NBA that can guard him when he's playing like that. The guy is not only is he a triple-double machine, but the efficiency with which he does it, it's mind-bending.
I've got a stat when we come back, we talk some MVPs, that is absolutely bonkers. Jokic is starting to put up the tungsten arm O'Doyle, Wilt Chamberlain type stuff.
And that's interesting when you see a guy like Jokic, when he turns it on, the question then becomes, what is going to dictate this MVP race? Mm-hmm. Because you look at, after Friday, the idea of Jokic becoming an MVP that wins it too much, you can't just sit there and dismiss how damn good he is.